in both of things, that kind of thing. And I think it was around, was it Thursday? Yeah, I think so. Here, and it was, it was on the East Coast, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think my son in New York had something in Western State.
Okay, yeah, that's what I remember.
But probably.
Morning, everybody. I hope we're doing well. Perfect. So today we are just doing something a little more cozy, a little more step-by-step kind of thing. Because the lesson plans take time and my work schedule has picked up, so. Yeah. You're welcome. So today we are doing this door with some plant life around it. Except I'm going to lengthen that door because right now it looks like it's built for children. Because it's very fat and not tall enough.
Shed or something that you crouch down and get in.
Okay. So once you are ready, the first thing you are going to need is your pencils, because we are actually going to be.
I have an extra. Yes, please. I brought them last week, not this week. Thank you. Want a sharpener? Yeah. I have a sharpener and an eraser. You're all equipped. I am indeed. Usually I am. I read my pencil case, but I didn't.
That's okay.
Oh,
Yes. So I'll guide you guys through the sketch as well for those who would like a follow step-by-step along. If you are a confident sketcher, just go for it. Okay, now that I've cleaned my palette. All right. So I'm using an H pencil. A 4H would be good too. Anything, so like when you go to the H range of pencils, I always think of it as hard. So they're gonna be much like lighter marks that you make. Whereas B, I like to think of as bold, so or black. So they're softer when you go to Bs. So if you go to like 2, 4, 6, 8 Bs, they're gonna be like closer to like charcoal almost, because they're really, really, really dark. So when I'm sketching in watercolor, because it's a transparent medium, I like to stick to either an HB or I even like to go to H's, and sometimes I'll go to 4H if I have it on me. But due to the fact that you guys have to be able to see it, I'm going with an H, and I'm going to be pressing hard. I will encourage you guys to try and put like feather weight on your pencils, and try to make it like nice and light, like a very thin line or a very light line, sorry. Okay, so I'm using this image as a reference, but I'm going to change some things up a bit. All right, and that's because I can. So I'm noticing the space at the top and at the bottom of the door frame, right? So we have about like an inch space at the bottom, and we have about an inch space at the top. So, and I am going to put my door at like the right hand third, just because, like, just to the offset from the center, just because I don't like to center things. I find, I don't know, it directs focus a little too much for me, and that's really like not the point of my paintings, but go for it if you want to. So the first thing I'm going to make is some guide marks. And for this class, if you can just, my only goal for you guys is if you can leave 3% calmer than you walked in, I'm happy with that. That's all I care about. Tends to be my goal for every class. Just gotta walk out calmer. Okay, so I'm just gonna make a little bit of a mark about an inch up and a little bit of an arc. I'm just kind of marking down some space in between the two to be able to make sure that I don't like hug the door frame to the very top of it. Because I want to see some of that like nice brickwork at the top. And I am going to teach you guys how to do brick a little nicer than this. I do have tricks. On the wall, it's kind of there. Yeah, it's really not shown well in this representation. I'm going to show you guys how to do nice brickwork. Promise. Okay, so I'm going to just make my door frame square. I am recording it. No, it is. Right here, that looks about right. We've all seen a door frame. We can kind of guess the proportions of it. And I do really like this top like beam at the top of it. So I am gonna include it and I'll probably cut into, I'm gonna make it thinner, I think. And then cut into it, my door a little bit. Does that make sense? Okay. And instead of doing stairs at the bottom, I'm just going to make the door flush with the ground. So right now I have two rectangles, right? So I have like one big one for the door, and then I have a thinner one at the top as like a big support beam. And that's it. That's all I got so far. What I will do is, because I cut into my door a bit, I'm going to erase whatever I cut in to the door. Or mine as well. And take your time drawing this, because if you can get the drawing right, then your image is gonna have a much stronger chance of looking right, if that makes sense. And then what I'm gonna do is draw a smaller rectangle inside that big door rectangle to kind of represent the door frame. It's going, so I'm going to draw a smaller rectangle along both sides and the top, but not the bottom, because the door has to swing out. So I'm just kind of outlining that. The only other thing I'm going to draw on this is those pots, just because the pots have to be a little bit like, they have to look a little bit like pots. I'm just gonna draw a quick line across just to show me where the building and the floor is. This doesn't have to be like, you don't have to see it at all. It's just for me to know where I want my pots to be, because in order for my pots to not look like they are stuck against the wall, they're going to have to be lower than the door frame, if that makes sense. Right? To achieve the perspective that we are looking for. So I'm gonna start over here, try one pot, and essentially I'm just kind of picking a width, and I am making a rectangle. And then at the bottom, I am making sure that that line is a little bit curved. And that's going to help us see how the bottom line is curved and not straight across. So that's going to give the illusion of like a 3D object, if you will. And then I'm gonna draw the lip. It also doesn't have to be perfect. If you don't like the way that these pots are shaped, draw one yourself. I think I'm going to, so this is me being finicky, but I think I'm going to kind of taper it a little bit, just a little bit, just to give it like a little bit more of an interest. So if I erase the lines that I do not need, so I think my next one, I'm creating some variety with these pots. I don't want them all to look exactly the same. So I'm gonna do this one like a medium, and then the next one, I think I'm gonna go big pot. And then the one at the end, I think I'm gonna do a short and fat pot, just for fun, because I can. And that's a lot, that's most of the time the reason I do anything. But the fact that it will be slightly like we're using different pots, sizes, in my opinion, adds a little bit of interest to your paintings. I think for this sake, how big do I want to make this pot? I think I'm gonna make it come here. The nice thing is that if your lines, especially at the top, aren't perfect, it doesn't matter because there's plant life coming out of this. And it's gonna cover up all of your weird, wonky lines. If you haven't gotten it like perfect or whatnot. So long as it kind of looks like a pot, that's all that really matters. And then the last one, I'm gonna move over a little bit, again, to create some interest. Up. Don't stress about these, okay? Because like they don't have to look perfect. That's the nice thing about choosing image or reference images that are like really loose like this, is that it leaves space for error. That's it. That's all I'm drawing right now.
It's very beautiful. Very beautiful.
My drawing?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So, because I had to press hard due to the fact that I needed you all to see it, while you guys finish up, I'm going to go around and lighten everything a little bit for me, just because watercolor is transparent. So if I leave these lines really dark, which is an option and can add its own value, but if I leave them really dark, you're going to be able to see them through at the very end. And once you have a bunch of layers of paint over top of it, it's very difficult to get rid of and erase. And if you do choose to erase it, you're also going to erase some of that paint. You're going to lift off some of that paint. But that being said, sometimes there's a lot of there's some good things that can come out of being able to see your reference drawings underneath. You get like to other artists, if I see watercolors and I see the pencil marks underneath it, it gives me like a more in-depth as to what the artist was thinking. So it adds complexity to other artists and gives me like a nicer appreciation for the art and like where their thought process was while they did it. There's no right or wrong way to do this. There's just a way to do this. Okay. So looking at this painting, I think I really enjoy the blue that is the door, like that old weathered wood, and the really warm, like Tuscan kind of brickwork that we have laying out here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to do a very, very, very light wash of, I think I'm going to do a yellow ochre over the whole thing. Just, again, we're going to do that thing that Whistler did where we tone our paper just to like add, like to make our colors a little more harmonious to work with, if you will. So I'm just taking a wet brush, and I'm using a larger brush right now because I'm just covering the entire thing. And I'm just going to roughly wet my whole thing very, very quickly. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect either.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Do you not have
I'm gonna get some.
oh, okay, I got you. And it's not soaked, it's just damp. And then I'm going to grab some of my yellow ochre and I'm just going to spread it around. See how lightly I'm spreading it though? It's not a lot of yellow ochre. And it doesn't really have to be uniform if like some areas are darker than others. That could also add some like nice interest to the whole thing.
Julie? I
Yes.
want no more yellow ochre, yellow.
Here.
No yellow at all.
Here, Maria.
Is mighty ochre pretty close to yellow ochre?
Yeah, anything that says ochre, this is gonna be your
This is
yellow
the
ochre.
yellow ochre?
Yes,
Thank you, Eliza.
that's okay.
Thank you.
There we go. Just dip your brush in water and spread it around. There you go.
Oh, I could,
You can just dab it up with your
Dab
water,
it up,
with your
right?
paper towel
Yeah.
after, yeah. Yes, if it's too dark for your liking, you can just simply dab it up with your paper towels. So the way I'm gonna go about this is I'm going to do my greenery first, just because that's going to determine where I mean, the rest of it, right? Because the green is like the part that we want everything to go around the green. So the first thing that I'm going to do is mix a green color. To get a nice vibrant green color, I think I'm going to take cadmium yellow and ultramarine blue. And I think I'm gonna mix those two together. We have lots of time too, so if you need to, if you forgot to grab something or whatnot, now's the time to do it because we have to wait for this initial layer to dry. So take your time. If you want to clean your palette a little more, go for it. Ugh. Sorry, I keep on knocking into the camera. I have excellent spatial awareness, but I often forget that like objects are actually there.
I know what you mean. So you're doing,
Cadmium yellow and ultramarine blue, correct?
Cadmium yellow is the bright one?
Yes, the very bright yellow. With ultramarine blue.
You need some online.
Yes, please.
What happened to all your yellows?
I have one yellow too,
Oh, it's finished?
and I never had that
Oh my gosh, how did you go through so much yellow?
Last week. With the sun.
Okay, so I'm taking my cadmium yellow. Oh. I'm looking for like kind of like a nice, like emeraldy green.
and blue, you said?
Yeah, ultramarine blue, correct. So the dark blue,
Dark blue, not the white blue.
correct. Okay, so I'm here and I'm just gonna add like a dot more. There you go, that's nice. It's a nice color, I'm happy with that.
Oh, it's more emerald.
It's not even book club, are they stopping for the summer?
I think so.
What are you reading?
This time, Edge of Night, I think. What's the name of it?
It's just nice. That's a classic, isn't it?
No, hang on. I'll give you the title.
Something.
Something else, it made it to a film.
It's been made into a film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen the film.
Okay.
That I do then, yeah.
I haven't read it yet.
No, I'm not in the mood for reading these days.
Why?
Adjusting to my cortisone. I'm full of cortisone. Right knee, back, and left knee. Yeah, my pain is much better.
Oh, good. How is the dampness of our paper? There you go, Carolyn.
Our souls and our shoes.
Our souls at that. Okay.
Not the edge of night.
No.
Our souls are-
Kind of green, green.
Just an emerald green.
And mine's too.
Emerald.
Yeah, just kind of like, yeah.
It's yucky.
What's that? That it?
Yeah, that looks
It
decent.
needs more blue, I think, right?
Yes, you do need more blue.
Thank you. Annie.
You can always get tubes too, and then just squeeze them into those areas.
Yeah.
Mhm. That works. Okay, so once, we're also going to need a purple because we're gonna want to do this at the same time. We kind of want them to blend into each other a little bit. So let's mix a purple by mixing, I'm gonna take alizarin crimson with ultramarine blue. So the pinkish red with the dark blue. Oh, I'm running low on
Dark
alizarin
blue
crimson.
is the one we just used.
Correct, yes. So I'm taking my
Not the
ultramarine.
bright red, but
Yeah, the pinkish red, correct. And then I'm gonna take that same ultramarine blue, and again, when I'm mixing my blue, I'm thinking about adding dry ingredients to wet ingredients. I'm adding it slowly, like little at a time, because blue tends to overpower the rest of the colors very, very easily.
It's taking its time here.
That is nice purple, I think. Wanted a little more red. There you go. That's a nice purple. You can always kill time by mixing colors.
Next is a lot of the crimson red.
Yes. Alizarin crimson with ultramarine blue.
The ultramarine blue is the dark, not the bright blue.
The dark blue, correct. The bright blue is cerulean blue.
Write these things down.
After a while, you know.
Yeah, after 20 lessons, maybe.
I had a little thing right next to my teeth. So, but I had a year of color mixing. So I'm beginning to understand that.
You know what I realized, I recognize, or I found out was you can make your own stickers with packing tape
Yeah,
and just watercolor.
or even labels.
Yeah,
The other thing, I did that, I used this paper and I made squares.
oh, cute, yeah. Cause I do a lot of like little things where I'll just like create like just this pot with a plant in it totally by itself on white. And then if you cut it out, take parchment paper, lay your packing tape face down onto the parchment paper, and then like glue that to the back side of the tape, and then put more paper packing tape on top. You can cut it out and it makes its own sticker. You can stick it on things. I do a lot of junk journaling, so. Just a purple. Yeah, just a purple and a green you should have.
Oh, that's I have too, okay. I thought there was a third one.
No, just two. So then, our papers, they look decently dry from what I'm seeing. So. Nice, wow,
It's a lot of work. But
yeah. All right, so now I'm going to take, and I'm using a medium brush. You can use a small brush too if you're much more comfortable with your small brush. I'm using a round brush though, so I would suggest taking a round. Yep. Not like a flat brush, but like a round brush. Well, this is what I'm using right here. I think it's a number 8. It's very well used, so all the markings are gone. And then you can just start adding in some of these green spots. And I do suggest, instead of brushing, of like doing more dot work kind of thing. It'll add more texture. And leave some like blank spaces around. Don't crowd it in completely. And I have some green coming in front of the entrance of the door. So it's creating texture by just like, it kind of looks like bushes. Go over here on top. If it starts getting too dry, feel free to, I had to re-wet my brush a little bit because it was getting too dry. And when it gets too dry, it gets more streaky. And I find that the brush has a harder time depositing the, what do you call it? The paint. And I'm just looking for some interesting shapes. You can make it exactly like mine. It doesn't have to be. So for this one up here, I think I want to make this like climbing clematis because like clematis is a beautiful purple color. So I think I'm gonna start making some like a few like snaking tendrils going up. And how I'm choosing these is by just like thinking of like what would be fun and what makes me happy, basically. If you like my design, go for it. If you are like, I'd like to try this instead, please do. Like I said, the goal for you this class is to have you guys walk away 3% more relaxed. So do things that make you happy.
Take Valentine. Just kidding.
So right now I'm trying to think of like, how does Ivy climb kind of thing? So I'm making like these nice little like vines, if you will. And then I can clean my brush once I'm really happy with it and pick up a little bit of purple and I can start adding some purple here and there. Am I going too fast? Okay, no problem.
And can I just borrow the yellow?
I'm just moving quickly right now to give you guys like, I want to stay ahead of you guys so you know which direction you're going into, but I will pause once I'm done with this, okay? So once I'm done with this side, I'm going to pause and allow you guys, give you guys a few minutes to catch up, and I'll walk around as well. If you guys want more circular objects too, you guys can always use the back of your brush. So if you like use the back of your brush, you get a very circular, like right now I'm doing the back of my brush and I'm getting a very circular shape. If you don't like the more organic one. Just giving you guys various options to try out. I'm gonna finish it up. And this is only the first layer. We're gonna go over these a few times, okay? Since you are, yeah, you not want to listen to that? No. You have the patience for it, other than that. Oh, I like how bold yours are. Everything, yeah, yeah, those are pretty cool. Yeah, those really complement each other. Nice. Don't be afraid to add some pressure, okay? And add some like wetness to your brush. The more water, yeah, the more you could even use like, this is a really nice edge for just kind of like going straight down. Yeah, feel free, hold your brushes at different angles. I went straight down for the majority of mine, but you can also hold it a little bit to the edge if you want like a longer one. Okay, you drew it. Nicely done. Very good.
Thank you. I have learned gorgeous.
How do you feel about it?
Well, I don't like the colors, and I think, again, I think we should use it. I agree, I just really much water.
Do you? But we're not done with the green, so you can add more green into it.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. You did not. I would say mix a second color. So like mix green that's a little more yellow, and then fill in the whites. And that'll start adding some texture. I love how some of yours are like so much more precise and other ones are just so much more like fun and messy.
10%.
And you know what? They're both great. Both of them are amazing. So we are gonna make a second green eventually, not yet, just let you know, we're gonna make a second green, one that's a little more yellow, and we are going to intertwine those in. So there's a lot going on here. I think the one here, I'm just gonna like do like something small right here.
Good.
So I'm just gonna do something small here because there's so much over here. I wanna kind of even it out a bit. And that's it. Then I'll add in my purple. How are we all doing? Are we happy with our leaves? Could we move on for now? They're not finished. We're just kind of what I'm doing right now is blocking out the location of my various objects. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So we're working with single layers right now, and then once we have everything down, we're gonna go and we're gonna add a little more life to it. So the next thing I'm gonna do is, does everyone have a burnt sienna, which is like a reddish brown? Okay. So I am gonna take that and I'm gonna put it in its own little area right here, just because I want to be able to control how much paint I pick up. So I'm always gonna go from like a middle area instead of going right into my palette. So if I go right into my palette, chances are I'm going to pick up like a lot of very heavy paint, and that's not what I'm looking for. So you can mix that orange with a little bit of your dark blue to make kind of a, yes, with the dark blue to make a little bit, and like add the dark blue slowly to make kind of like a reddish brown. And then I'm going to wet my brush because we want this layer to be very wet, watered down, because this is going to be the beginning of the brick. Okay, this is going to be the underside of the brick. So I'm going to pick up some of that color with a very wet brush. And I am just going to start kind of adding it in. Because we've toned our paper, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I don't want it to be perfect because we want to create texture. So work in like, so watch how I'm moving across. See how I'm kind of doing a section, lifting off, going to another section, lifting off, kind of skipping areas. Is everyone kind of noticing that? How I'm working in small, quick sections. So what that's going to do is it's going to allow areas to dry, and because you're at, and it's going to create texture, if you will. So that's how I'm really focusing this down, is going small section and then moving on, and then eventually my entire thing will be covered. Does that make sense?
You put burnt sienna with what?
Just burnt sienna. Yep, we just, I didn't want to go directly into it, just so I could control how much color I picked up. Correct, yeah, so my brush is very wet, and then I'm picking up my color on top of that. That's one technique to use to control how much you pick up.
Yeah, put orange and blue. Am I supposed to have a light?
What's the color that you have?
This here.
Oh, that's a nice color. Yeah. So then water it down. Water it down a lot. Yes. Yeah. So when you pick up that color, make sure you're picking it up, with a very wet brush. Okay. Also, I want to point out to you guys, see how like there's some extra lines here, and like it looks like these are two separate things? That's because I added this color right here. This is the first one, and then I moved on to something else, and then I added another one. And because these two are two separate layers that kind of overlap, it creates this like interesting texture. Does that make sense? How I'm trying to explain that?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yes, no problem. So you see how there's like some interesting lines in here, and it looks a little bit like these are two separate identities, like two separate objects together.
Yes.
So the way that happened was I did this first and then I moved on instead of like doing the whole area at one time. So then I moved on to, let's say, here. And then once this was dry, I jumped back to over here. And because some of it is overlapping a little bit while it's dry, it's creating an interesting texture. So this is what I mean by like work in small sections and jump around, because the more texture you have, the more interest your bricks are going to have. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Is anyone still confused on that? So Maria, watch how I lay down my color up there. Watch how I lay down my color. So I'm just gonna go with a small section, just kind of fill it in haphazardly, and then I'm gonna move on to here, right? And then I'm gonna wait for these to dry, so then I'm gonna fill up here instead. And then eventually I'm gonna make my way down to there. Does that make sense? Kinda?
Are you going to do the other side of the door as well?
Yes, I am. Yep, we're gonna do the whole wall.
So you put it in the-
I put it down and I'm actually dropping it down much like how we did the foliage, where I'm kind of like just dropping it instead of brushing it across. Yep, and then I'm gonna move away, and then eventually it will all kind of have various, because we kind of want it to look like camouflage. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. It should. Everything you say makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, but my job is to explain it to you guys in the way that works for you, that you guys understand. I think camouflage is a good way to describe this.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
I'm looking at my drawing, and I would like to change some of my flowers.
Okay.
On the right side.
Yep.
So I've already laid down this wash, this camouflage, so I'll just wait for it to go out and then you go back on it and then add to it.
Correct. Yep. Unless you want them to bleed together. If you want them to bleed together, then you can do it now, but until then, I would suggest waiting. I also don't like how dark some of these are, so I'm actually going over top of it and sucking up some of those colors and moving it around. Because you're already so proficient with acrylics, I would say you almost gave yourself like a handicap, because you're like trying to ignore what you already know about something else. So like you're working double duty right now. So be gentle with yourself.
So you put the little dots and then you paint it over it, right?
Yep. I'm kind of just, yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of filling in the blanks a bit, very roughly.
You have a lot of white, I think. But you left a lot of white, right?
In between, where?
Like in between your browns on the brick, on the wall to make the shadows and stuff. If you haven't painted the spots, right?
Yeah, but I am gonna go in and paint some. Yeah, yeah, very lightly though. I just haven't gotten there yet. No, I'm just moving around. I really like how you have like almost a pink color. It's gorgeous. Very nice. Very delicate, yes.
Another unsuccessful.
Unsuccessful? What's unsuccessful about that?
Look at colors.
Yeah, they're beautiful. That's okay. It'll all come together, I promise.
It's my first time in watercolor, so. I should just
I also like how you have like a big hand on it, you can go right to the edge. I think it's very interesting. Very nice, guys. Y'all have a lot of very nice texture going on. Bold, said bold.
Bold.
I never said it.
Bold, I like. Those are my words.
I know.
Bold. Bold's better.
We love it. It's very hard to be realistic. Isn't it?
You can do realism, and I do have quite a few things that are realism, but it's a lot of like laying down barely any color and then like lifting off and then laying down and lifting off, laying down and lifting off. Yes, absolutely. Eventually you're going to figure out how, if you keep with it, eventually you'll figure out how it works properly. At the beginning, I very much lacked in patience. And so like everything would bleed into each other. Yeah, that's just a way that it is.
So I went there and I kept screaming with ball eyes on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One got trapped in and I keep on the notes.
As you say, you go well, and so I put my garbage cans and everything else. And he obviously left it open, and they were the notes they were collecting from a tree. And they brought me in and had a lovely little old feed that then they got one in, leave for me.
Yes.
Let's see.
Like this, just learning my question. Well, no, these are red swirls. They're red. I just said that that's my shit.
My grandpa hated red squirrels.
Oh, they're fine. They're terrifying, yeah.
He would like I remember being a kid and he would like instruct us to take the slingshots whenever he saw one and try and like peg one with a rock. Like I'm like, oh yeah.
They challenge you.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of you.
climbing up the building next to us, they went up to the 15th floor, and then they came down the 6th and they jumped onto the tree.
Yeah. It's, no, I know, but these guys are small and they're not chipmunk. I think it really breaks.
They're
Yep.
city smart.
Yeah, they are just unbelievable.
Okay, so I'm taking a very light wash of cadmium red and I'm going over top of all my pots.
Yeah.
See, this will make a stain, doesn't it?
Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite parts of watercolor. Cadmium red, yes, a very,
That's bright.
yep, the bright red, a very light wash of it. Okay, this is the underpainting. Cadmium red is like an orangey red. That's it. We're gonna orange it up a little bit after, but I wanted to make sure that this was like a nice rich red, because we want to go terracotta with it after. But this is a nice base coat. The only underpaintings left that we have to do are the wood for the door and the ground, but I think the ground I'm going to just do like more of a wet on wet, colors bleed into each other. But we'll get to that eventually. That might be one of the last things that we do. There you go, Maria. I like how you're starting to recognize when your paintbrush is too dry and to add some water. It's a very important step to get to. So then for the door, we're gonna do a very light wash of ultramarine blue, very light. Okay, so what I would suggest, because blue overpowers very easily, is taking some of your blue and putting it in its own little area. And then if you clean your brush with a wet brush, see how I'm only grabbing like the tip of it? I'm only grabbing a very small amount of blue. There we go. This is the ultramarine blue, correct? So because blue overpowers very easily, it's a very rich color. That's why I had you guys put it into its own little space, is because you have a lot more control over how much of the color you picked up. Do we all recognize that as we're like adding this color? Is that making sense? Why I had you guys do this? No? So here we go. I'll do it on here. Notice when I just go for my blue and I add it on, look how dark that is, right? Where if I go from my palette, I have a lot more control. Look at the difference between the how the saturations. So if you're working light, I always suggest to work from a secondary location instead of your initial color palette. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So you have a lot more control. Yes, over how much you pick up. You can add a little more if you want to, or you can leave it that way. It's your choice. Add more water to your brush, Maria. And like clean out what you have in there. There you go. Yeah. I love how rich all of your colors are, Maria. I really like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different from mine. It's fine. They're all gonna be different from mine. Okay, so once we have that door done, let's go and add some depth into our foliage. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create another green, but I'm going to create it with, let me try something. I wanna try what happens if I take very, very pale ultramarine blue, yes. Not from your paint source, but from like a third area, like from a separate area. So I'm going to try yellow ochre with some blue. Let me see what I get. Okay. And I'm gonna try and add some of this. Ooh, look at me dirting everything. Okay, so this is kind of the color that I want. How I got this was I mixed yellow ochre with ultramarine blue until I got kind of like a sage green, and then I added in some cadmium yellow. Does that make sense? So I mixed together the mustard yellow with the dark blue, and then I added in some of that sunshine, really bright yellow to it until I have like this really nice warm green. And then I'm gonna add that to everywhere that's got some green into it, just to like make it look like the sun is kind of shining off of the petals. So to get this green, I mixed my yellow ochre, which is the mustard, with my ultramarine blue until I got like a sage green. And then I added the cadmium yellow to it. Well, it's tough to gauge because of how concentrated it is.
So it's not very good. So this is good.
You could add a little bit more yellow to it. What I would suggest is almost like getting like a piece of scrap and then you can
Right.
work. No, just to test out your
My
colors.
colors.
Yeah. So see how that starts to like brighten it up a little bit? I'm gonna have to mix more of that green. How are we feeling, guys? It's very quiet, which tells me that we're concentrating real hard. If you're finished with the leaves, you can move on to the door. We're going to add, that's okay. We're not looking for realism here. Okay, so the next step for the doors, we're gonna add a layer of burnt umber over top of it. So that's like a darker brown. This is the color of my burnt umber right here. And then I'm just going to, ooh, that's really dark. That's too dark. I'm gonna spread that around what I have on there. If things bleed, let them bleed. And I know it looks like we're losing that blue right now, but we're gonna get it back because we're going to be mixing a Payne's gray. And we're gonna do like a light Payne's gray over top of everything. Feel free at this point to add some like wood characteristics into your paintings or into your doors. So make it streaky if you want to. With this style of painting, every layer is an opportunity to add texture. We're gonna take some of that burnt umber too, and we're gonna add it to our pots as well. So this burnt umber is gonna go over top of our doors and over top of our pots. And that's too dark, so I'm going to just move around with water what is already on there. Ooh, nice, Bria. Really like the texture that's going on here. So much life in these because of the texture. Everyone's got a success. I'm impressed. These look great. I really like the texture you have going on right here. It's very interesting. And your wall, really like this. It's a leaves.
I'm starting to outline my fingers.
Don't worry about it. We're going in dark. Yeah, we're making it paint spray. So like see these really dark areas, those aren't black, those are paint spray. Just very comfortable. Sense?
Just to get it.
Absolutely, yeah. You can always add another layer of blue over top of it as well, to bring out that blue again. Okay, so the next thing we can do is we can add more texture to the wall and we can start adding in some flowers. Both with like more of like a reddish color. So what I'm going to do is, because this door is going to be very blue, like I'm going to go in and tone it a little more blue after this dries with some of that Payne's gray that we are going to create. Not there yet though, just letting you know, like, future step. Also, this is how I'm thinking, so like I'm also sharing with you how my thought process is going. So that means that if that's going to be blue, what's going to contrast really well with that is going to be very warm colors, so like a yellow or an orange or a red. I think I'm going to go with a cadmium red mixed with some of my burnt sienna to give it like that terracotta color, if you will. I think that would be a very nice addition to our walls. So how I'm going to do that is I'm grabbing my cadmium red, which is my orangey red. I'm going to add it to a palette area. And then I'm going to add my burnt sienna. Or you could do this with a little bit of blue as well. But like a very hint of blue. Like Maria, for you, I would do a little bit more blue. And then I'm going to mix those together until I get like a really nice kind of terracotta color. Which I'm going to say this is what I got. Whoa. I keep on accidentally hitting my painting. How are you doing, Maria?
I need a rest.
Okay.
You have more orange. in yours. Should I have some yellow?
I would add some more red. Yeah. Oops, I splattered on my painting. I'm just gonna leave it. It'll add character. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start like carving out some bricks areas. They don't have to be perfect, but just think about the way that to get bricks to look a little more natural is that the row above it and below it are always going to end around the middle. Does that make sense? Of the one in between, sandwiched in between. And they don't have to be perfect. If they blend into each other, that's okay, because we're gonna go over this again with some, we're gonna add some of that burnt umber or even the Payne's gray into it to really get like the cracks and the crevices. So they 100% can bleed into each other. That's okay. And I'm not going everywhere on the wall. I'm only going some places. Use your discernment. These are huge bricks. This is the cinder block house, okay? See how I'm leaving some blank space and I'm just adding some bricks here and there? It's really gonna add some interest throughout the whole thing. It doesn't all have to be completely colored in.
Stick to cooking.
Okay, so the majority of the class. Have you had fun?
Yes.
Okay, don't quit on a bad day. Okay, quit on a good day, because then you're really gonna know if it's for you or not. It's always my one piece of advice.
It's my mantra. It's a good day.
It's a good day. I really like you in my classes, Maria, because you really like kind of do your own thing, and I really appreciate that. I'm saying that's a good thing. I'm giving you praise for that. I love that you do that.
I can't do better.
You'll do better eventually.
I finished my door with the doorknob.
I like that. That's so pretty.
To finish, because I'm done. I'm really tired now and I'm done. Julie,
You worked a lot. Yeah, learning is hard.
It's a keyhole. It's actually a keyhole, not a doorknob.
I'm happy. Learning is hard, man. It's a lot of work for your brain.
Patience. This watercolor is
Yeah.
training in patience.
Uh-huh. So if you don't have a lot of patience, then it's a
Oh,
challenge.
I need to buy some more colors. These are so puny.
This side has got a Sam on right now.
Wait, just dessert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick's taking up a notch.
What do you think? You like the bricks?
Well, yeah, they're covering my door.
It's amazing. You can't do that. That's okay.
You can. You're just, your brain is used up for the day. For the moment, for the moment.
Yeah, for water.
Yeah.
Okay.
As fun as art is, it's also challenging. There are days where I'm just creating and it's super fun and I'm having a blast, and then you hit a wall and you're like, I'm done for the day, kind of thing. But everything is like that, right? Have you guys heard about like the spoon theory? So it's to help people understand invisible disabilities kind of thing. So like so say you wake up because you have a disability. My spouse has fibromyalgia, so we use this a lot, where they wake up and they're like, this is a bad day today. I have like maybe 3 spoons available to me. And like, so taking a shower uses up 1 spoon, and eating breakfast uses up half a spoon, kind of thing. And so like, you have to judge how much ability you have throughout the day. And some days you may wake up with 20 spoons and have so much ability for you. And so it's a way that I like to use to help describe my abilities that day and like my resources. Some days you wake up with less spoons, some days you wake up with more spoons. And doing art still takes up spoons, and learning takes up a lot of spoons.
So if you know you have a concert for your granddaughter, you better save some spoons.
You better save some spoons. Yeah, you definitely have to prioritize.
I just my attention. Yeah, I am a limited amount.
Yep.
So I learned to go to what I want to see most first. Yeah, and if I've got any leftover attention, nothing else. Yeah, and also in the morning, or if you're a morning person, or at the end of the day, or, you know,
Yep.
depending on when you're. It's able to focus.
I also find shopping, like trying on clothes, takes up so much for me. I have to be in such a mood, and usually I'll do 1 round and I'm like, nothing fit, I'm done. I'm walking out of the place.
I just buy it, take it home, take my time trying it on, and then take it back. Take back what I don't want.
I refuse to wait in lines to return things.
Oh,
I go to a small shop, she knows what suits me.
Call. When there's something in for you.
And she knows, and I'll try something, yes, that's good, no, that's not good,
Okay,
it's worth everything.
yeah.
And I would be very happy with this class is held at midnight.
Really?
Oh my God, me too. I am such a night owl, but my daughter forces me to be a morning person.
they get up early.
My energy starts coming in at like 8 p.m. 8 p.m. I'm like, all right, ready for the
9 o'clock,
day.
it kicks in.
Yeah. When my daughter's in bedtime, I'm like, let's clean the house. Okay, so that's all the bricks I'm adding because I really like the way that this is spread out. I like that it's in clusters. I like this. Okay, and now I'm going to take some yellow ochre. And I'm taking a thick amount of yellow ochre, so I'm going right from the palette and I'm really loading up my brush. Okay, kind of dry, it's fairly dry. The flowers. So I'm just going to blob on some flowers here. And then while it's wet, I'm actually going to be dual brush working right now. I'm going to do that same thing with the cadmium red. So I have two brushes right now. One's loaded with yellow ochre, the other's loaded with cadmium red. So my mustard or yellow and my orangey red. And then while it's wet, I'm going to dab on some cadmium red and allow them to blend in with each other. See how they kind of mix together-ish? So I'm going to add some You can go here and you can go here.
I put too much water.
That's okay, just let it dry.
Julie, I'm gonna leave early today.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you for coming. Am I gonna see you July 2nd?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine with me,
Just.
oh, you're funny.
Yeah, and then you mix it with the red, and it gets you. No, go ahead. It's just.
You do the same thing on the other side.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yellow or cadmium red and the mustard or yellow. Yellow ochre.
Yeah, right.
That's very kind of you.
Was there a student that quit who was upset and quit? Jan, I think so. She never came back.
No, she'd still be here.
Oh.
I know.
Pretty. I like it. I'm gonna do some of that to the other side as well. Not a whole lot, but some. Ooh. Try not to do them all in a line like I just did. There we go. I balanced it out a bit. I also need to darken up some of my flowers, the purple flowers, because mine kind of got washed out. If your flowers are really nice and bright, go for it. If you want to darken them up again, now's their chance, because it's nice and dry. Only if you want to, you don't need to, if you're happy with it.
Do you do oil painting?
No, acrylic.
Acrylic? Yeah, so, but you've been doing acrylic for a long time. No? You just
I
started?
just discovered art a year ago.
Oh, really? Oh,
So I studied music as a.
Piano or what?
Yeah, and musicology, I did my bachelor's. My sisters were artists and they always said I was new. So I decided I better conquer this before I die.
What else is on your bucket list?
I don't know yet.
Me? I don't know, but this. I don't know.
My travel bucket list is getting shorter and shorter because we've done a lot of
oh, that's amazing.
Have a date with George Clooney.
it.
Nice.
I don't know if she'll let him out of her sight.
I have moved to living in the lap in Slow Lane. I can't believe it.
The slow lane?
I'm in now in the Slow Lane.
I'm not there
I'm
yet.
on the
I think
far
my
lane.
husband wishes I was.
I think my arthritis kind of decided
Oh, yes.
which lane I'm gonna be in.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
That'll
that
do it.
does.
You know?
Okay, so now I'm shading my pots with that purple.
Oh, we put nothing to brown.
No, I'm doing it with purple. It's the same purple that I used for up here. Might have to mix more.
What I'm really working hard on is
Drawing? Yeah.
learning to see, which is not easy.
Well, that's what
The art
artists
of
do.
observing. Yep.
Yeah, artists show us what ordinary people don't see.
All right, we have 20 minutes left.
For your class?
Yes, there's 20 minutes left.
I'm not too bad then, 20 minutes.
The most challenging one I know. It was complete.
This,
Yeah.
It's the most challenging one so far?
Well, for me, I missed the sunflower.
Okay.
My kids, but yeah. And then I have to give one that I don't know that day. So here I am. In the sun.
I love that you are back.
that's
Correct.
my keys. So that's my final, doing.
I love it.
It always comes out kind of
Abstract?
impressionist abstract, yeah.
I love it though. I love abstract
Mine
impressionist work.
was better.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, so have a nice week, everybody.
Yeah.
You too. Thank you for coming.
Those bold colors. Yeah.
I love your colors.
I like to put some, well, those leaves behind the flowers. You use a darker green.
Yep, we're gonna make, you can mix a darker green for that. Yeah, absolutely. At this point, you can kind of just focus where you want to like complete things. Does that make sense?
So if I wanted to fix my door,
Yeah, let's do the door after. Let me just finish this. Let me just finish this and I will move on to the door. I was just kind of waiting until we were ready for the door. Okay, now, so for the door, I'm going to mix a Payne's gray, which means that I'm taking my ultramarine blue, mixing it with my burnt umber, and then adding some black into there. So I'm taking my ultramarine blue and, whoa, that was a lot. Okay, so we're working with a lot of Payne's gray, I guess. And I'm taking my burnt umber, mixing them together until I get like a nice grayish blue. If you have mixed Payne's gray, lucky you. Well, Payne's gray is blue.
Oh, that I have to agree, yeah.
Okay, so see this color? I actually do not need to add more blue to this or more black. Look how dark this is. So this is the color that I'm looking for. It's kind of like a grayish blue. I might add a little bit more blue to just, there we go. So this is often used as a black in watercolor. Yep.
By the black.
Yes. And then because my brush is so loaded with this, I don't want to waste this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in this corner right here. And then with a wet brush, I'm just going to start moving this around with a wet brush. Is this what you were hoping for? To fix the door? Perfect. Right? And then once it's dry, you can go over and with the same black, add in those like really, really dark areas. Like what I mean by is the like seams in the door. There you go. The cracks in the door. So once this dries, the final layer that I'm going to do on the door is to add the seams and the shading and separate the door frame from the door itself. There we go. I think that kind of looks like old weathered wood. What do we think? And then, so this is the color. I'm going to switch to my smallest brush. This is the color that I can start adding in between my bricks. And they're almost my bricks are too big. I don't like how big these are. I'm going to cut these in half. I am, just because I didn't want it too dark. Well, so this is the color that you can really push your shadows with. The last thing I would probably do is make like a really dark green. And just add some foliage through this. Just as an example to show you guys. But I want to finish this. This is with the dark blue. Oh my god. Feel free, especially when you're making these really thin lines, to like turn your canvas where you think you need to turn it. This is that Payne's gray. Correct, yes. You could add shadows underneath the pots and then with like a wet brush, just kind of like drag it out.
May I take a picture?
Oh yeah, go for it.
My interpretation is very fluid.
Very much.
It's
Oh,
very
nice.
Yes, but it's like it.
Yeah.
Not everyone.
It's not what's it? Would you say you don't like it or?
I can't say I don't like it. It's my work,
Yeah.
but it's,
It's interpretation.
yes, it's interpreted in a very light way.
I love that though.
Thank you. It was the thing, like, my starting working with the computer. Yeah, I was so afraid to push.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, but it, yeah. Yeah. Luckily, it's just, yeah, that's.
There are definitely places that I would still add some like shading, like definitely under here to try and separate, make it look like the greenery is like off of the wall and not on it. So like I would probably add some like under here. Yeah, that's still Payne's gray. See how it kind of like makes it look a little more like 3D?
And this one. Yes, or the line. The different.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and then something.
What do we think of this one? Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very pleasant and even yes, for ourselves.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. For the last one, I think we're gonna do something very similar, very like step by step, follow along.
Well. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Feel free to go home and finish it up.
Yes.
Yes. So I would just probably continue to add a little more depth. So like add maybe some dark green throughout this to break this up a little bit more. The grass and like more of these here, add maybe a little bit of dark green here interspersed to make it look like the foliage underneath. And then possibly continue outlining some of the bricks, not all of the bricks, but some of them. And that's about it. Then I would call this a finished success, I think.
Yeah.
And then remember when you are untaping, pull away from your painting, please.